this by remote means is necessary because an in-person meeting is not practical nor prudent due to the declared public health disaster caused by COVID-19. This meeting is conducted via video conference. Also, please note that under recent directions from the City of Chicago Department of Planning and Development, this meeting is being recorded and will be made available on our website shortly after the meeting. Brandon, make sure you're recording.
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Thank you. I see Wendy was able to join us. Thanks, Wendy. Good to see you. So the first order of business is the business of the organization, which is the minutes. The minutes were circulated earlier. Ramon sent through a revision late this afternoon. Ramon, do you want to tell us what was in the revision? Was it just that correction for Bruce Sagan's title?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And thank you, Mayor, for catching that. I appreciate that.
Mayor,
you're welcome.
A correction for Bruce Sagan's title in regards to the Herald. Are there any other corrections that anyone had to the minutes or revisions?
I was actually absent and I wasn't listed absent.
Thank you. That's the kind of thing we need people to check. I try to jot these things down, but I lose track of it. So, got it. Any other corrections to the minutes? Ramon, I had one correction that I noticed tonight looking over the minutes again. That's in the first page, the paragraph right after a quorum being present. The last sentence says the meeting was recorded and is available at, and we need to have a website in there. We had left a filler, watch the website, but we need to actually go back and put in where the website is. I wasn't sure if it was going to be on the SECC website or if it was going to be on the Hyde Park Cares website or if it was going to be on the Downtown Hyde Park website. So wherever it is, we need to put that in the minutes so that people can find it.
Okay. Brandy, which is it going to be on the Hyde Park Cares or the Downtown Hyde Park?
Downtown Hyde Park right now.
Okay, thank you.
Because I've actually had a couple of questions about where people can go to see these recorded meetings. So it will be good if we can make that. Will it be that way going forward that all the recordings will be there? These recordings are huge. So
yeah,
you have the bandwidth to store them. Any other corrections? Then the minutes are accepted as corrected. Thank you very much, Ramon. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Starting this month, we're going to change our order of business. You may have noticed from the agenda. Up until this point, under guidance from the city, we have always ended with comments from the floor. The city has determined that instead we should move that to the start of our meeting so that we will begin with opening our floor to the audience for general questions and comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, and although I can't display the time, I do have a timer running on my screen to keep track of this. And of course, the policy of according to the bylaws of the SSA is that this is the only point at which our guests are allowed to speak. The rest of the meeting is reserved for conversations among the commissioners. So if anyone would like to raise a point, ask some questions, make some statements, this is your chance. Let me know who it is and I'll recognize you and then we'll proceed. So any questions, comments, general announcements from anyone?
Just a mess. Oh, okay.
Yes, Jane, Carol. I see the name Jane.
Well, exactly. The boss is here. One question and one comment. The front of Bank of America is pretty much a disaster every day. There's lots of litter there. And if George, if you or someone else could let us, we're wondering who is going into the space formerly occupied by Modern Cooperative and any other new retailers that might be coming onto the street.
Yeah, we will. Somebody correct me. Has there been a formal announcement yet for the new occupants of the Modern Cooperative? there was actually an article in one of the local newspapers about it.
The university has not made a formal announcement yet, George.
But that was my understanding, which is why I haven't given any names out yet. Hopefully that will be coming soon. We're looking forward to seeing new businesses opening up on the street, sooner the better. What's the problem? What's the problem with the Bank of America? Is it trash or is it
Just the trash. Yeah, we were out there today and the street was absolutely pristine on either side of the street going east and west, and that was a trash heap. We went inside and talked to the bank, but they didn't really seem that interested in it, but perhaps we didn't speak to the right person. I don't know.
Okay, great. Thank you. We will add that to the to-do list.
It's very busy there, so they do create a lot of garbage, and there is no garbage can right in front of there. So people kind of use the street as their garbage can.
Right, and they do limit people entering their lobbies, so
They
people
do.
stand out on the sidewalk for lengthy periods of time there. I've noticed as I walk to work. Okay,
Yeah.
great. We will try to look into that.
Yeah,
Thank
and we
you.
will make a note for Clean Slate to
Yep.
take a look at that.
Okay.
But also everyone knows 53rd Street's a wind tunnel right now, so.
That's
they're
true.
blowing, so East and West Street, North and South Streets are getting hit a little bit harder, I think, with litter because of 53rd Street's wind, so.
Oh, one additional question regarding Clean Slate. When is the next scheduled gum removal, power wash gum removal?
Power washing is a separate contract for removal, so that Clean Slate doesn't handle the actual gum piece, so we can look at what the schedule is for the actual power washing. That's a separate contract though, Ms. Moore.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anything else?
Yep.
from yeah,
Typically, the duration is spring and then late summer for power washing, so we are actually releasing an RFP for power washing shortly.
Will that include the viaducts?
Yeah.
Are really disgusting at the moment. particularly the
Yes,
ones
and
that-
everyone, please keep in mind, power washing was an item that was removed from our spending last year because of COVID and fears of tax collection.
Yeah. Great. Any other comments from the floor before we get to our agenda? All right, Brandon, would you like to review the financials with us?
Sure thing. Just going to give a kind of quick overview of the, let's make sure you guys can see this. Can everyone see here?
Yes.
Yep.
Right. So
Can you increase the size, please?
okay. Is that better?
That's good.
Okay. So as of right now, compared to last year, SSA checking currently stands at $51,232.35 compared to $12,614 last year. We have not started receiving disbursements yet from the city, but we do anticipate that those will be coming in. As far as accounts payable, for this year existing at $7,267 compared to $8,476 last year. Deferred revenue is at $268,497 compared to $268,497 last year. Temporary net assets exist at $64,522.86 compared to a negative $31,165.76 last year. Total net assets stand at $41,807.06 compared to $31,432 last year. And total liabilities and net assets stand at $321,912.53 compared to $283,294.23 last year.
And of course, a lot of this is due to the carryover that we had from our last budget. Brandon, could you go back just 1 second to that sheet?
Right.
Due to SECC, the 4,000, that's to be paid. Do we know when? B14.
I had requested Isaac to start transferring payroll and utilities and rent because we did have a carryover. So that should show up in March.
Good, because we do not want to get behind in reimbursing and then let it drag as happened in prior years. So we want to make sure
Yes.
that's
And typically we hold it for the first 3 months until we get our first disbursement. But because there's money in the bank, I did ask Isaac to transfer that.
where we were so happy in January that we had gotten that number down to 0. We want to keep that number down to 0 as much as we can. We want Southeast Chicago Commission to be reimbursed fairly and quickly. Thank you. That was my question.
Thank you, Diane. All right. And you guys probably saw this in the budget tracker as well. But this month's February's expenses pretty much went along the lines of just kind of our spending we expect for the month. Right at $5,885 for website maintenance and special events. For our landscaping, which is our clean slate contract, right at $22,607 spent. Other expenses include SSA management. So we have started the audit process, paid $2,000 down for that. We've got our bookkeeping expenses and office rent and office utilities for reimbursement for phones. And then of course, payment for salaries for myself and Raymond in the way of program manager and office administrator. Total for the year spent thus far through to March, $22,716. And this is just the breakdown of the detailed expenses for, again, the month of February. Nancy's coming back in the room. But again, just to go through, it's a little clearer on the budget tracker for the specific month, but $22,715. And I'll bring up the budget tracker just so that we can see that as well. So this was just that breakdown. So again, that 22,000 right at 714. And for the month, we are right at $11,345. And last month, right at $11,369. All right. Are there any questions on budget or the financials thus far?
Mary?
I have a question. There was an item for tree removal. Is that something that we're doing at the moment?
No, ma'am. That falls under, and I just moved this up here. Garbage remediation, there was a mix up in the coding. So 2.10 and 2.11, one gets positioned as tree removal, it's still landscaping. So these are the only dollars that have been spent in that space. So we need to clear that up.
Okay. And so we have had no expenditures for the flower baskets then yet thus far this year?
Not yet.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
We just released the RFP, and Brandon will talk more about that in his just overview of beautification.
Are there more questions concerning our budget, finances? Still very early. When do we usually get our first disbursements from the city? Late March, April?
Yep, starting into March, beginning of April, usually I believe.
Then if there are no other questions, let's just continue this right into the audit update because that comes next.
So as mentioned, guys, we have started the audit process. I'm going to ask Ms. Raymond if you would kind of give updates on where things stand. I believe that everything has been turned in.
Yes. They have received their requested documents, so they're working through.
Yep.
So, yeah, we double checked with them last week, so they've received all to date what they've requested. So, and they said it's moving smoothly. They did mention that since they moved the tax date to May, that gives them a little bit more time, but so far everything's going good.
But the audit is still due to the city by May 1st.
Right.
Which everyone knows, regardless of what dates have been changed, it doesn't change our deadlines with Department of Planning.
No.
City is the city. Any questions about the audit? We will approve the audit when? Do we?
We
That's
set
our-
a target date of April 15th
Right.
for them to have the audit to us for review so that we can get it out to the commissioners so that you all have time to review it and get back if there are any questions or any corrections that need to be made.
So then in our
So
April,
hopefully our April meeting, yes, George.
Yes.
we'll approve the audit.
Mhm. Yes.
Any other questions concerning the audit? All right, Brandon, fill us in on the farmers market updates.
All right, so very excited to speak through. We have not, and this is kind of, you guys are getting exclusive information here, but we are working to administer the 2021 Hyde Park Farmers Market. So planning started in the middle of February, and we have gotten clearance. I want to give a big shout out to Hyde Park Bank. They have been awesome in working with us. We are excited. We're going to move from the old location in the Harper's Court area. Now we will be behind the bank, right next to or adjacent to Old Lake Park and 54th Street. So we are still kind of in the building process. We are looking to partner with Link Up Illinois so that Link can be accepted at the market. And we are wanting this to be a curated market. So a little bit different from what existed previously for the market. And again, you know, just kind of to my understanding, it kind of existed as almost a flea market where there are a number of different types of vendors. We definitely want to support more local vendors, people from the city, of course, and surrounding areas, and just be a value add to the community. So I'm very excited about it. This is kind of my first foray into the programming piece. We are very careful with regard to kind of understanding the COVID restrictions that are going to be in place, and, you know, working closely with DCASE as well to make sure that we are, you know, up to standard there. So that's kind of where we're at with things. Things are still developing, but we do have an official location, and we are looking to have 15 dates throughout the summer, starting in mid-July or mid-June. I'm so sorry. It will be the second week of June.
When do you think you'll have a list of the vendors?
April. We are looking to have that by mid-April.
People are always very curious to see who those are. Perhaps we can do some publicity regarding the vendors that we'll be attracting.
Yep.
Yes, so we're hoping to have the vendors secured in April, but it won't be publicly released probably till closer to May.
Yeah.
And so we are still working on all of the details. So at this time, we haven't released anything publicly, but we are confident in saying that the market is coming back in a socially distanced way and reinvented way, and in a new location, and also a new day and time.
Yep.
And that will be Sunday mornings. So we had to go with what was best for the lot space in the region. And also thank you to Wendy and Angie from university for helping foster that conversation to help us secure a new location.
Do we think that the vendors will include vegetable and fruit kinds of sellers?
Absolutely.
Yes, we're hoping so.
Great.
And we also plan to invite Hyde Park Produce and Open Produce if they would like to have a table to be inclusive of two local grocers.
That's really good. Really good. Let's hope this makes it go. And where the space exactly is going to be, where is it going to be in the Hyde Park Bank parking lot? The parking lot behind the bank, not the parking lot next to the bank.
Correct.
Behind the bank.
Okay, not the promontory lot, the bank.
Nope. And if
Yeah.
you, I can show real quick.
Bigger, it's a bigger lot.
This has just been our general line. We still have to do our measurements, but this is what was accepted and submitted. So right here, as you can see, that's Old Lake Park, that's promontory lot. And this is where we're looking at having the space so that, you know, we still have allow for traffic to flow through here. And then the market would exist in these, this set of spaces here.
It's so nice to have good neighbors like Hyde Park Bank in the neighborhood.
Yes, indeed.
Questions about the farmers market? I think it's exciting that we are able to bring it back, and hopefully the different day, different location may make a difference in the appeal that it gets. But we're going to have to do a lot of publicizing.
And that's why we're going to use this COVID social distance year to start off on a smaller scale and a reinvention, so that way it can become the market many of us envisioned it could be. A little bit different.
Maybe we need to replace some banners or right around there, basically advertising the market.
Hmm.
Yes, we
Very good.
definitely will be looking at signage and banners, and hopefully we'll be able to put up some new kind of banners around too. So we definitely are going to work with Hyde Park Bank on logistics of the space. Well, I'm impressed because there's a couple of people that are really quiet, so I'm happy. Meaning it's approved in a sense.
And, yeah, I was so busy
No,
typing.
but
this, we
once their
checked.
park space during that on Sunday morning, I still think that's a pretty good time.
Yeah.
And I know Aaron is dying to ask questions, but I have to tell him he has to wait until the meeting is over. But if you want to hang on after the meeting, Aaron, and come in and ask some questions, you're welcome to.
I
So,
thought that was just a celebration dance.
so we've been chatting, make sure he has some questions. So, but it's still up in the air. We're waiting guidelines from the city on a lot of these issues. So until we hear from the city, some things we just aren't sure about yet. Any other questions or comments about the farmers market?
Everyone, please know that we will be doing a formal press release and a launch and an opening, and everything will be streamlined correctly, as you all know SECC to do. So please be patient with us as we release things. It might come a little bit at a time because we want it to be correct. We want it to be good.
Are we going to invite Wallace to come over and cut the banner?
Hopefully he'll be available. If not, we'll borrow his big scissors.
All right, good. Moving through then on the agenda. The next item I have on the agenda is one that I put on the agenda, which is small scale landscape projects. You know, we've been having an ongoing conversation for a year and a half now, 2 years and a half now, about our landscaping initiative on Lake Park. How, you know, we really have this plan in place to do some revamping of the design of the medians and the trees and the areas in Lake Park. But at the request of the alderman, we've had to put that on hold until some of the financial questions get resolved. There's some issues about how things will be paid for. The TIF enters into all this, and so we're holding off on that until it gets resolved. You all know me, I want to see us doing stuff. Time is getting short before we have to go up for our renewal, and I want public vision, you know, people seeing that we're able to do stuff. So I've come up with this idea of, if we can't do Lake Park right now, we should really look around the neighborhood within the footprint and identify some additional areas in which we could do small scale landscape improvements, streetscape improvements. I've had 3 conversations in the past month with some of our neighbors about what could be done. I started with Nichols Park. There's a large garden that is an entryway to Nichols Park, which is always a giant headache, figuring out who's going to take care of it, who's going to plant it. Is anybody going to do anything with it? I thought maybe we could contribute to that, but I was told by some of the members of the advisory council that we should not, that has been taken care of this year. So instead, I'm looking for something else we can do in that section of Nichols Park. I've had.
George,
Yes,
George, are you sure that the park is in the boundaries of the SSA?
yes, I am.
Okay, great.
All the portions, not the entire park, all the portions along 53rd Street have PIN numbers.
Okay, so the park. I remember.
I remember too, because I really wanted to extend the footprint over into Harold Washington Park, and we were told you can't because the SSA can't be in a park. But you look at our map from the city and all of Nichols Park along 53rd Street is in our footprint. And I asked why, and it's no, because those sections still have PIN numbers because it was originally not park, it was originally retail. And so the PIN numbers are still in place.
Oh, okay. All right.
I know, it's really,
Little unknown Hyde Park trivia there you got, George.
yeah.
You should tell Sid.
Hyde Park full of trivia. So we're still talking about Nichols Park. I've had conversations with Reverend Charlene Hill at the United Church, the church that's on the corner of 53rd and Dort and Blackstone across from Boston Market. She feels that their corner is one of the central meeting places in Hyde Park, and they actually have some problems with that because of that. They feel like there are too many people gathering there, and there are too many people loitering and hanging out and spending the night sleeping there. And they want to explore ways in which they may be able to address that corner, one of which involves some landscaping and enhancements of the sidewalk. They do not have firm ideas yet. They do not have specific things that they would like to bring up with us. So somewhere down the line, that might be an issue. It might not be a possibility. The third place that I have identified is one that you're probably familiar with. Allow me, if I could, share a picture of it.
George.
Who recognizes this?
That looks familiar.
I hope this looks familiar to you, Charles.
Yes, I mean, that's the gateway, but that doesn't look like a gate to me.
So
that's the gateway to the shopping center of 53rd Street, and that's sad, really is.
I've had a couple of conversations with Charles about how the corner of 53rd and Woodlawn is the entryway from the west side to our footprint, and that corner is just a very sad, empty, depleted corner, and that we really should be able to do something with it to make it more appealing. There are some foundation areas in there for gardens. It's a perfect place to also put large, heavy pots, the kinds that people can't pick up and move around. I know a couple of gardeners who would be interested in getting involved for a fee, of course, not for free, in designing something that would be appropriate for that corner. We don't want to block pedestrian traffic because heaven knows I walk that way when I'm doing my shopping over at Hyde Park Produce and Ken Bark Liquors. I walk through that corner, but we want to make it, I think, more appealing.
Yes.
So I requested Brandon and Diane to consider a small line item for our budget of $2,500 to address that corner. And that technically that does not need commission approval since it's below the $5,000 threshold, but I wanted to bring it to the commission just to see what you thought of that, if you think this is a good idea or not. And if you do approve of this idea, what are the other areas within the footprint that we can be looking at for doing something similar between now and the fall? What are the areas in Hyde Park in our footprint that we could brighten up, put flowers, put pots, put designs, put something into? Mary?
I think the area right in front of the Hyde Park Bank would be a good place for us to focus some attention. Some of it is done, but it could be enhanced a little bit.
And we might do that in partnership with the bank if the bank was interested in doing that. I was thinking of the corner of the Dare building. We talk about that corner at Cornell and 55th. I don't quite know what would be appropriate or what we could do there, but it's a spot we could look at. The entryways.
Right. I know one of the issues. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Sorry, go ahead, Mary.
I know one of the issues that they're having is workers are using that space and leaving it a mess. And so if there were one thing that would discourage dog walkers from letting their dogs use the space, that would be. The other thing that I think we have to be a little about is that it's not big high stuff where people could hide. and so we don't want it to become a hazardous area. But if some kind of low beautification, I think it would be appreciated.
What other comments do we have?
And maybe, I wonder if the other end of that block too, down by the metro tracks, that maybe that could be like a corresponding corner.
And
And
I think the
yeah.
entryway to all four of the Metro platforms, the four sides of the Metro platforms are a place to look at somewhere down the line, maybe not right away, but somewhere down the line, because there's nothing
Ugly.
there right now. Yeah, they really are ugly. And if we could just put some small things in there that would add some color and make it look as if somebody cared about it, it might make a bit of a difference. Anyone have opinions one way or the other? We don't need to set the guidelines tonight about areas that we want to cover. I would just like to encourage everyone to think about it. I think that corner at Kimbark Plaza is a prime spot, though, that regardless of everything else, that's a corner that could really have a visual impact on that section of the neighborhood. So I'd love, if it's okay with Charles, and if no one objects, then I'll work with Charles and we'll get that taken care of. Charles?
Yes, I'm so excited, George. I think I'm willing to do a matching fund.
Great.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Of course, your matching fund, would it go through the SECC, which is fantastic because
Okay.
SSA cannot take any contributions or revenue. But also, please keep in mind, gentlemen, any stakeholders that would want to have any input on that corner.
Yeah, Nancy.
Okay.
Nancy.
You know, I'm also thinking, since as Charles pointed out, this is the gateway from the west into downtown Hyde Park. It's not just plantings. Why don't we have a small sort of sign like it's on the side of the, one of those metal things like on the side of the bike racks? It says Hyde Park downtown, sort of demarcating it so that even in the wintertime, it looks like something,
I agree. I'd already been thinking along and
upping your budget from $2,500.
yes, that's the issue.
That's complete.
Well, that's what I was
that's
going to say.
the
Is
issue.
25 enough? Is 2,500 enough? Because we do, all types of beautification projects, and that money can go quickly. Charles, we appreciate your match. That's awesome because that takes it up to 5,000 that can be done in that corner. But that's definitely something, George and Charles, as you start to investigate and research what could go there, keeping us all abreast if those costs change.
Yeah, I'm right now, I want to keep the costs under control. I too agree with Nancy's comment about how that becomes a real focal point for signage. That takes a lot more work and effort because we'll have to do an RFP to do that. We'll have to have some sort of a competition to come up with a design for what would be appropriate there.
You already have it. You have it on the bike rack. You take
Yeah,
a
but
metal.
it has to be something that's done in such a way that it also doesn't interfere with pedestrians walking through there. So there's some considerations on that corner, but I love the idea. I mean, I think that's a great way to go.
Things are a work in process.
Yes. I just want to start doing stuff and think about other areas. Think about other areas around where this could make a difference. So, because it's small amounts of money with a lot of visual impact, and that's something that we should be able to do. Questions?
Well, again,
Go ahead, Nancy.
in terms of signing these things is you want to make this, let people know who is doing this. It's also branding it.
Absolutely.
Gee, where did that idea come from? Yes, absolutely. Any other comments? If not, yeah, sorry.
Oh, I think we committed to the brand being downtown Hyde Park, not SSA number 61, not SECC. So I just wanted to say that out loud in case, just so we're all on the same page.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Yeah, could you repeat that, Greg? It was very difficult to hear.
We carry a few different brands, and sometimes I just wanted to clarify which brand we're talking about. When you say like remind people who did this work, we're saying downtown Hyde Park.
61, downtown Hyde Park. That's who's doing it. That's going to be fun.
There's two things that have to come through here. We're promoting the district, which is downtown Hyde Park. That takes priority. That's the big print. That's the logo for the bike racks and all that stuff. Somewhere secondary level, it needs to say SSA 61.
Yes.
Or SECC and SSA 61 or something like that, so that everybody gets the credit. We all get the credit.
Right.
Except sometimes you water down the brand statement. Like if we just put all of our focus and say we're downtown Hyde Park here, when we need to reconstitute, we say, hey, we're the guys park. You know,
So,
we pitch that, not, we don't have to say number 61.
it's just
no one will
important to remember that downtown Hyde Park is not up for reconstitution. That's not going to happen.
At some point,
SSA
I thought we sort of
61
changed.
SSA 61 could go away completely. Downtown Hyde Park can continue on because the chamber can continue it, the SECC can continue it, the university can continue it with Harper Court. That is not dependent on SSA 61. Our name is SSA 61. That's what's being reconstituted.
Technically, I just don't think people are going to remember a number. I do think they'll remember the term.
Yeah, I
To
agree.
the-
But
Continue, I'm sure.
the letters that are going to go out have to go out under the name of SSA 61. I mean, there is a form letter that the city has that goes out that businesses have to sign off on to show their support. And it will all be under the name Special Service Area 61 Hyde Park, which is our legal name by ordinance. I doubt that it will even mention downtown Hyde Park.
Did everyone get a chance to see that news article, an interview that I did with Otherwise, the entity that helped us do the downtown Hyde Park branding? I really tried to help make it very clear in that interview of the differentiation that SSA 61 provides the services, but downtown Hyde Park is now the brand has worked. It's a destination. People know of it as downtown Hyde Park. Some people, and I even made it very clear, some people love it, some people don't love it. And that is the tricky position that we're in, right? Is that we want people to come to the South Side and spend money in the district and help funnel that money throughout the region. But we also have to make sure we give Special Service Area 61 some kind of credit to it, due credit, because it's, when it comes time for the city, they care about SSA 61. They don't care about downtown Hyde Park, Chicago. To them, it's SSA 61 Hyde Park, although everyone's proud of it, right? So I'm happy to reshare that article again. I was trying to find it. I could put it in the chat.
Good, thanks. More comments or questions? I see none. Then this takes us to the point where we have questions and comments from the commissioners. We were joined by Kimberly Webb, Kim from the Alderman's office. Kim, thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry, I couldn't make it to the Fifth Ward meeting. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How's everyone?
We're hanging in there.
Good, good. Yeah, the fourth Tuesday of every month, we have our ward meeting, and then the alderman likes to do a recap immediately after. So I wasn't able to attend 2 months ago at the 7 o'clock meeting because of that reason. And last month for the 11 o'clock, I had a funeral Zoom. So haven't been here for a bit. Been keeping up with what's going on through Wendy Williams, and I'm playing telephone tag with you. So I just don't, I don't think I've really missed a beat, but if you guys would permit me to send some questions over whenever I need to, because I missed a meeting, I'd really appreciate it.
Anytime, anytime. Do we have more comments or announcements from any of the commissioners? Mary?
I have a question. I noticed today that the police were out several times at the corner of Lake Park and like Old Lake Park and 53rd, and they were clearing traffic there. Is there some new program going on to keep people from parking in that intersection?
Not that I'm aware of, but I could find out.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that they were there twice today clearing cars away, and that's the first time I've seen them do that.
Yes.
They started yesterday, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
It's very loud. I like it. I'm
I
glad.
thought it was RoboCop. That's what it sounds like.
Boy, I'm on the ninth floor and it comes booming in through my windows.
Well, I'm right across the street from it, so it's very clear.
Is there a particular time?
First thing in the morning, and then maybe around noon out there clearing out people from stopping, going into Starbucks and Chipotle. That's what it looks like. And it's blaring, blaring, no stopping, standing, or you'll be told. It's a robotic voice that plays over and over and over again.
I didn't go in until 1 o'clock today and they were there at 1 o'clock doing it, so.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And at the
Yeah.
same time that they do that, they have policemen down on the street going to the cars and ticketing them.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Good.
Yeah, nice.
Nancy?
Okay, I'll try to find out as much as I can.
Thank you.
Nancy? Nancy Stanek?
Yes, okay. Yeah, I brought this up at the financial committee that it seems to me we talk about we don't want to, how are we going to spend this money? We did nothing last year, truthfully. So of course we are in great financial shape, but it seemed to me that Brandon was fully occupied with just running the place. And it just seems to me, if we're talking about diverting some of our funds from funding other people's events, because that's basically what a large portion of the budget has gone to, and doing things that are of our own initiative, I question how we expect Brandon to manage all these new initiatives, on the part-time basis that he is currently working at. And is that real?
I will let Brandon answer in a minute, but I think that's a very real question. And some of us have been having conversations sort of behind the scene talking about how his allocated budget works and how much we expect him to do with all of that and whether or not this needs to change in the budget going forward. So this will be a future discussion. Brandon, what's your take on it?
Well, last year, COVID affected everything. And the real program thrust was, of course, the rebate. So, putting out the rebate program was the focus on that side. I think that my frame has been always cautiously optimistic for what programming is going to return. So as we're talking about the farmers market, the way that we do that, we're being careful in that. But I mean, as far as our budget and how we look at potentially spending for other events and things like that, it's about what makes sense, and I'm in a place where I am open and I'm as flexible as I can be to what's reasonable. Diane and I have spoken kind of about what changes are potentially going to occur. Me and George have had some preliminary conversation as well about, kind of my standing and how that may change going forward. But, again, I understand and I'm trying to be reasonable with myself as well. There are some calls that come in outside of that time frame, but I know that that's, the nature of the work. So.
Do we keep you busy?
Surely, yeah.
Well, I can say for one that I completely disagree that we did nothing last year. We just released our annual report, and if you look through our annual report, we did a lot last year. We served more businesses, we ran some campaigns, we continued with litter abatement, with beautification, floral planting. We tried to do as much as we could from a COVID standpoint. So I would humbly disagree with you, Ms. Stanek. And I think that there's other commissioners that may feel the same.
I would say that the reason we were able to pay SECC off and a number of other things was because we were flush with cash, because we really didn't fund a lot of
I
projects.
think Diane's
And we're
point though is given
not
the circumstances that we're all operating under, it's amazing that we were
defense.
able to do what we were able to do, that it was a very
Yeah.
rough year for all of us. And
And
the
that-
fact that we did anything, getting anything off the ground was really quite remarkable.
To denigrate your activities for last year, but there is a reason we're sitting on a lot of money. And the reason we paid off all of this is because we really didn't have the kinds of projects I think that in a normal year you would have. And hopefully we're not talking about just passing off money to other people's events as we have done in the past.
I see that we've been joined by Prentice Butler. Prentice, thank you for joining us. We had Kim just a few minutes ago from the 5th Ward. We have Prentice from the 4th Ward. Prentice, is there anything we need to know about? Hello, Prentice. Oh,
I'm right here. I'm sorry, I was having some sound trouble. So here's the thing. We're going to be talking with the 5th Ward about some of joint projects we would like to do with the 53rd Street TIF. We're scheduled for that meeting this Thursday. It's something that we talked about. I think me and Diane talked about that last month or a month or two. To make sure we have better coordination about what is to be expected, and some expectations between the wards about how we would like to spend funds in the future. And make sure we have a joint vision that could be helpful for the SSA and also the SEC and the Chamber of Commerce. We all just need to be on the same page. That is critical right now. A lot of people are asking, what do you want here? What does this alderman want? We need to have a clear vision to share so we really make things move in the Hyde Park area. Right now, we've had a lot of success in the last 10 years at 53rd Street, but certainly some beautification projects we would like to do, especially on Lake Park Avenue, which needs a little bit of work, especially from 47th Street down to 51st. We've talked about viaducts and things of that nature. So we have a meeting this Thursday to really hammer that out. And after that meeting, I hope to have the follow meeting with Diane to talk about what we discussed so we can be clear on the next push for the next few years, talk about the TIF improvement. And also we are still talking about Nichols Park, and that's a bigger discussion between the U of C and the city. But the biggest thing, I think you already know this, we're getting SPIF funding for 53rd Street this year. And as soon as I know more information about the application period, of course, we'll discuss that. But that's huge. I know a lot of businesses have been asking for the resource. But for right now, it's coming. Thank God. It's been like, what, George, I think 10 years since the last rollout?
Yeah,
at least. So we're getting to that point. So I just want to make sure I was here tonight just to share that with you. We're going to do that on Thursday. Is there anything quick or any updates you need outside of that?
No, we should make sure you know that we have rescheduled our meeting with Benny Curry and the Hyde Park Advisory Council. We had an earlier meeting scheduled. He had to reschedule because of plumbing issues, which have been prevalent this winter. But we do have that coming up, what, Diane, in a week that we're meeting with Benny for the Alderman's request. And so we're going to, this is again an effort to get all the different parties working together on the same page.
All right. I love it. Sounds good.
Good. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, and Kim, for joining us tonight. Are there any other comments from any of the commissioners? All right, then our next scheduled meeting is for Tuesday, April 27. We will be back at our usual time, 11 o'clock a.m. Still, I suspect via Zoom. And if there is no further business and no objection, then this meeting will be adjourned. Aaron, stay